Hi, we're Dustin and Laura Gransberry with Open Your Practice, the business of therapy made simple, talking to you today about a question that we get asked all the time from our students, and that is, do I need to specialize? Can I be a generalist? What's a niche?
Niche. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Niche.
Do I need one of those?
And the most basic answer that we're going to talk about today is yes. We are pro niche, and we're going to tell you why. There's about five things that I think are important bullet points here that explain why we are pro niche. And I'll just start out by saying this was one of the most frustrating things when I was on this journey of starting private practice. I asked a ton of clinicians, this very question, do I need to specialize? And I got answers all over the map. There were some that said, no, you'll get more clients if you just say that you treat everything, or that, you do depression and anxiety. That's sort of a common one, to just say like, and that there's so much that falls under that's, so don't, if you do specialize, like, don't make it forefront is what I heard. And then on the very opposite end, I heard just as emphatically, like, yes, find your niche, like, live there. And it was so frustrating to hear both sides of that. So after all this time and building a practice and practicing in a niche, I'm for it. I think that it's a good idea. And we're going to tell you why. The first reason we want to address here is why a niche might be important. And the sub bullet point there that I want to get to is it really allows you to see the clients that you want to see. Yeah. There's a element here where I'm a firm believer in building a practice that you want to go to every day. If you are seeing clients, I know that
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
I know, but some people build this, and this was a mistake. I talked about it in one of the previous videos here. Some people build this in a way where they actually dread certain clients, right? Like they dread the way that they've built it.
Yeah. And you built yourself a job.
Yeah,
and your boss is good, but your job is not.
And so they dread going to their private practice because they haven't really, let it flow and built it in the way that they want. So if you are passionate about something and you're like, for me, I have a couple niches. I specialize in family therapy. And sort of marriage counseling, couples therapy is tucked in there. And because I worked in residential eating disorders facilities for so long, that community around me is really strong. So I do specialize in that as well. So I can toggle back and forth between both there, but there's an element where I love that work. So I don't dread going and doing that work every day. I get to go in and do the work that I want, speaks to my strengths, and I love it. So that's the first one there. And it's the second piece to that is that it's in your wheelhouse. I've done a ton of training in both areas, and it allows me to feel comfortable. There's an element where if you're practicing outside of your comfort zone, I'm all for pushing comfort zones. You don't grow unless you're pushing on your comfort zone. So I'm not saying that. Push on your comfort zone, yes. But if you're practicing in your wheelhouse and it's something that you've had a lot of training in and you feel really confident about it, there's an ease and a confidence that comes with that that I think is really, really great.
It helps people connect with you a little better.
Yeah.
I know that when I was running my practice, it was specialized in holistic health coaching, which meant like life on all the things that were going on in your life, plus health. And most of the people came to me, they were entrepreneurs or they wanted weight loss, right? But they wanted to do it in a holistic way and not in like a calorie counting way.
Yeah.
So like it helps you to feel more fulfilled. Like this is a strength for me, my wheelhouse, right? I'll push on that growth edge when you need to, but like feel strong and secure and stable in that you know what you're doing and that people know, hey, you're the right person for them because of that. So it can help with your confidence as well.
Right. And that speaks right into this like third sub bullet point here in this first reason. It's a great marketing benefit to be top of mind when somebody's saying like, hey, who's a great eating disorder therapist in Seattle? Oh, Laura. It happens all the time.
Yeah. I say it.
Yeah. You know, if you're practicing in a niche and you become known in that community, that's a huge marketing wheel for you as well. There's a benefit to being sort of on the tip of everyone's tongue as an expert in that part of the field. Mm-hmm. And there are so many parts of this field that I love to refer people out to. Yeah. You know, I don't specialize in EMDR, so I have a person on my list that does, you know, and so I refer out for that because I want what's best for my client, you know, or for the person that's seeking help, and that would be this other person. Yeah. So if we're all doing that, like, it really creates a great community.
Is it easier or more difficult to refer to a generalist?
Ooh, that's a great question. I haven't really ever thought about that, but I off the top of my head, I think that it's a little harder to refer to a generalist, because unless the person is seeking just general general, like I have an array of problems, or I just am looking for someone to talk to, which happens, then that's a little easier. But when someone's looking for something specific, I don't look for a generalist to refer them to. Yeah. I look for a specialist. Yeah. I look for somebody in that niche. You know, I have my list of referrals, and, you know, if somebody's looking for marriage counseling, or looking for somebody who's certified in sex therapy or trauma, you know, those kinds of things, like it's so much easier to just refer out that way. Yeah. Yeah. So the second reason that we're going to get to here is asking yourself, so when you're looking to identify your niche. So the first question is, do I need one? Yeah. And the second one is, how do I find out? how do I figure out what my niche is? And that's really where I get questions from students, like, how do I narrow this down? How do I determine, what, really asking yourself, where is my strength as a clinician? Where do I feel most confident and strong? So for me, personal example, when I was in school, I could have sworn to you up and down that I was going to be a marriage counselor, couples counseling. I did the CFT track at Antioch. I was like, couples counseling all the way. That's what I want to do. I want, two people sitting in front of me having a relationship problem. I will help them. And I landed in the world of eating disorder work and working at a residential eating disorder facility. And because family therapy, he's kind of laughing, because family therapy is required as a part of the treatment, I got a massive amount of exposure to mandated family therapy work. And I fell in love with the systemic perspective and how much healing can happen when you have that many people in the room. And so I totally pivot. It was a total pivot for me. I still do couples counseling because it fits into that systemic work as well. But I found that I had a strength there, that not only did I love doing that work, but I was strong, and I felt confident in what I was doing and how I was helping people, and the training that I was continuing to get around it.
So you can change your mind.
Yeah.
You can adapt, change.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you pick one, right? Like, say you start your, I'm going to be a generalist. Then, it's sort of what you're drawn to. Yeah. Right?
And that's number 3 on the list here. This third reason, you're walking right into it, is how, if someone were to say to you, hey, I'm going to go to this CE about EMDR, or I'm going to go to this CE class on eating disorders, or with personality disorder, insert your whatever here, and you get really excited about it, that's a sign. That's a good thing, Yeah. So if you have a list of continuing education units in front of you, we all have to get them. If you have the list in front of you, what sets your heart on fire? What do you like? I want to go to I want to spend 36 hours learning about this. That tells you that you have a desire there, likely a strength there, and something that you can grow into. And this is an evolution. It happens over time. It's okay. That's another thing I tell my students too. It's okay to have this develop over time. Yeah. And it should happen over time. You know, we've all signed up for, and I'm sure this was true in your private practice in your field as well, that we've all signed up for a lifetime of learning. Not only is it required to maintain our license, right? But we went into a field where you're never going to know everything there is to know about this. Ever. Impossible. and that's a good thing. So to keep learning and keep, like, what is it that you want to keep learning? What is it that you want to fill your time with? You have to fill those hours anyway. The time's going to pass anyway. Yeah. What really fires you up? And consider making that your niche and your specialty. Is that something that your community needs? You know, those kinds of things.
And the next on our list is often overlooked, but that is you have to consider how you'll be paid for the work that you do, because some specialties, you're sort of boxing yourself in. They're not going to be covered by insurance.
Yeah, and we talk more about this in other areas too. This is sort of could be a whole separate thing on its own, but there are absolutely diagnosis codes that are covered by insurance, and absolutely ones that are not, or that don't even have diagnosis codes at all. You know, the relational work often it doesn't have a diagnosis code. So if you are one that wants to solely rely on insurance reimbursement, then that plays into how you identify your niche. If you're like, nope, I just want to do cash pay, and so maybe the couples work and the family work is something that's going to be good for you as well. But how you are going to bill actually is something to consider.
Yeah, for sure. And the last one would be, where are you located? Right? So why does that matter?
Yeah, I just briefly mentioned it just a second ago. What does your community need? You know, if you look around you and what, if you're really struggling to identify a niche and you're totally lost, what seems to be really prominent in terms of service? Like how does your community need to be served? What could you do to best serve the population around you? And is that something that you want to do? So those are the two questions you have to ask yourself there. Who needs to be served? How can I serve them well? And is that something that I want to pursue? Because that could also be a niche. So there's a bit of a marketing thing in there too. Like if you, if there's a certain client population that's really underserved, could you fill that gap? That's going to be a great spot for you in terms of marketing, because people are then you're going to be top of mind for them as well.
So let us know your thoughts, your questions, or if you selected a niche from this video here in the comment section below. Make sure that you subscribe to get all the latest and greatest videos that we produce. Follow us on all the socials, and check out openyourpractice.com for more additional resources. We are so excited that you're on this journey with us, and we'll see you on the other side.